the governing board meeting. And we will start the meeting by the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody will stand. Time stand. Ms. Corbett, would you please do this?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nora, could you lead us in the treasure?
Yes, sir. As an adult and a treasure hunter, I am committed to search for all the talents, skills, and intelligence that exists in all children and youth. I believe all children are capable of success, no exceptions.
Silence, please. All right, everyone will be seated. Again. And Superintendent Bob, please do a roll call.
I'd love to. Mark Lindgren,
Here.
Steve Courtwright,
Here.
Tim Keeson,
Here.
Bill Doherty.
Here.
All present.
Next will be the approval of the agenda. This will be the opening meeting. D, approve the agenda.
And I'm going to ask that we remove or table action item G.
That'll be the 12-month employee calendar revision. Reasoning being not quite right.
More revisions.
More revisions and revisions. Okay. 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 So that's fine. So, if I have a motion to approve the agenda, with the exception of the 12-month employee calendar revision.
I move to approve the agenda minus item G.
You want to have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Case will give a motion. And I have a second by Mr. Dougherty. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Passes. Then we go to 2 consent agenda items. We have approval of the action consent agenda. We have a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Mr. Case has made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have Mr. Courtwright, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passed. And we move on now to 3, the information discussion items. And this is the superintendent summary.
Upcoming calendar, Wednesday, July 13th, first day for continuing teachers. Wednesday, July 20th, first day for 10-month classified staff. Also on the 20th, we'll have our district-wide orientation and breakfast. And July 25th is the first day for students. Upcoming conferences, the ASBA Annual Law Conference is the 26th Annual Law Conference. Will be held in Scottsdale September 7th through the 9th. And then the Kids at Hope Masters Institute will be held in Phoenix, scheduled for September 25th through the 28th. So let me know tonight if you would like to be registered for either or both conferences. Our district foreign project has been finalized. So just with the exception of putting up the finishing touches, such as the baseboards. Narda Ferguson, our district foreign project manager, reports that our dedicated team worked extremely hard this summer to finish in Arizona City Elementary School within a very short period of time. And we do plan to present shirts to the team during the next board meeting. So Mrs. Ferguson, would you give us an update?
Yes, ma'am. Like Mrs. Rogers said, it is finished. The floors are finished. The only thing that's left is the baseboards, and we will be back tomorrow to finish the baseboards. And everybody's cleaning because, you know, the concrete grinding leaves a lot of little fine dust everywhere. So they're cleaning, but, we're done. We're done.
Very good.
62,000 square feet, and we're done.
Congratulations, excellent job.
Thank you.
Oh, I know it's, I'm talking about, we're working on roofs and stuff like that and all that stuff, and I know how hard it is, but we, I've worked on thousands of square feet.
I had like about 24 people that helped me, and they worked hard.
Very good.
They worked hard. I couldn't believe it. I mean, we had the furniture out of there. We had the floors, the epoxy crew, the clear coat crew, everything. They worked so hard for me. I couldn't have done it without. I'd take that team anywhere.
Well,
They were
the
awesome.
board appreciates them, 'cause I know the
Thank you,
board's
sir, I
out.
will.
know I do. So,
Thank you.
I love the forum we have here, and I know you wouldn't let it go. I know you're touchy, so if
Thank
it doesn't look right, it wouldn't fly. So I'm sure it was just as good as the best here, so thank you.
Thank you.
And she's even had some ask her, what's the next project?
I know, yes. I had a couple of people ask me, what's the next project for next summer? And I'm like, well, we'll have to ask Mrs. Rogers.
Oh, believe me, there will be a project. Supposedly, I'm here again next year.
Oh, okay, great.
We'll see, we'll see. I get voted in first, and then we'll find out for sure, but if I'm here,
There'll be another project. Thank you, sir.
All right, now that we have finished that off, we're moving to information discussion. Item B, finance reports. Are you ladies ready, or do I have to give you a minute?
No, we're ready.
Are you, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so on page 1, you'll find the July 2022 budget report. It is a summary of expenditures from July 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The total monthly expenditures for June 2022 were $446,833.89. As we continue closing out the fiscal year 22, we remain confident that we will have a positive carryover balance. So that would be the first page of the report. Then the second and third page is the budget 25 report. These are from the AD, these are the ADE reports. So as indicated on the attached June budget report, there is an unapplied budget capacity that we will be able to add to the fiscal year 23 budget. The final budget report for fiscal year 22 will be published after statewide recalculation is finalized. Please keep in mind that fiscal year 22 M&O and/or unrestricted calculations are not final until reported on the fiscal year 2022 Budget 75 report, which is usually released in November. Sorry, I probably said that really fast.
That's
You guys have
okay.
any questions?
My eyeball is catching up with what you were saying, and I understand it. Wait, I got it.
I'm sorry.
Wait. You,
Efficient.
but I did understand you said more money. Okay, all
All
right.
right, you're good. You got the most of it, right?
Okay,
But there was a carryover.
yes, there would be a carryover that we would have but obviously you said November, correct? Is when we do the
Budget 75
budget.
report. That's basically the last reconciliation for the fiscal year. So after everything is applied and state has said this is your final number for fiscal year 22, if districts either overexpend or underexpend, that final report closes out last year and the capacity or due money would then be affected to fiscal year 23 budget. So you're in the positive. There's money
So
there
far, we're in
calculating
positive.
more than what we calculated. So right now, it's an additional carryover.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So far.
That's how we're so far, so good. And then we're waiting until November to make sure that we're still
What
staying.
the final number
Yeah,
would look like.
it's okay, it's excellent, excellent, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Now we move on to information discussion item C.
So we have our fiscal year 2021 audit report, and just to highlight a couple of things. In your annual financial report, which is your blue and white booklet, Let me remind you that the audit is always on so this is from 2021, so we're not looking at current, we're looking at, last year's. So the financial highlights are on page 5 and 6. And then on page 10, it mentioned that we have a net position decrease of $190,218 because revenues increased by $429, primarily due to an increase in operating grants and contributions, and then expenses increased $953,816, primarily due to increase in instruction and support services. So, and then on page 16, it mentions long-term liabilities, and there was an increase of 1.7 million. Bonds payable decreased by 410,000. Net pension liability increased by 2.2 million. Guaranteed energy savings contract decreased by $83,760, and compensated absences increased by $10,115 due to accrual and use of available leave of absences. Page 17 is the economic factors. So we know that our budget is based off of our ADM, which is average daily membership for our students. And in 2016-17, we had an ADM of 960. In 17-18, it went down to 946. In 18-19, it went up to 975. In 19-20, it went down to 964. And in 20 and 21, it went down to 858. So they did predict that there was going to be a decrease in the fiscal year 2021 and in the 2020 audit, and that's what happened. And then they predicted that there was going to be, in this report, they predicted there's going to be an ADM increase, and that's what happened in the 21-22 school year. Okay, if we look at the single audit report on page 11, we have a significant deficiency here, and this is from the guaranteed energy savings contract. And on February 15, 2012, the district entered into a $1.2 million guaranteed energy savings contract. And this lease purchase was to be paid over 15 years with the annual principal and interest payments of $54,676. And as part of the agreement, the total principal and interest payments of $1,640,280 are to be offset by energy cost savings of $1.3 million over a 15-year period. And we do not have documentation that there's a savings. This was entered into in 2012 by the previous superintendent. So we just inherited this. This is one of the leases that we inherited. And we just have to live with it and try to get through. We are working on some things even as of today with KG and Mrs. Ferguson. We're working on trying to see if they can manage our air conditioning units a little more closely because that's not working correctly. So, but we don't have any documentation on what the expenses were when this contract was entered into, this lease, and what the savings were going to be, and we haven't been able to get any of that information from the company either. It was negligent, I believe, on both parts when this was entered into. And then page 13 is another significant deficiency, and this is on capital asset additions. This finding's been ongoing, and it kind of took a back seat because we had so many pressing financial issues, but WS is on top of this. Can you explain how this is going to be addressed this school year?
So we are going to hire, David Wood with Public Consulting Group. He will come in and we'll start with, like, basically at the bottom, we'll go through all the inventory, tag everything that hasn't been tagged, remove out of visions, input into visions. He'll train us all on how to do it. He'll be training me, Narda, and probably another individual. And that way, because that's the problem, is we don't know how to input the data into visions, nor do we know how to take it out when we've gotten rid of things. So we're hoping to have this done probably at latest by October, and that way we will be in compliance when it comes for our audit.
Okay, thank you. And
That one can be fixed.
Yes.
The other one can't, so.
no,
It
it
looks
is,
like it's just.
that's one of the things that we inherited. Yes, yes. We're doing what we can.
Right, what can you do with that?
Yeah, there's quite a few things we just inherited, so, and this one continues to bite us. In the USFR, the Uniform System of Financial Records and Compliance Questionnaire, on page 1 through 4, the listing of the audit findings, which we have a total of 27. So if you have any questions on any of those, let us know. When auditors come in, they're looking for findings, and as they have findings, we work really hard to correct them and work with them. And so we don't take any of this lightly, the whole team. And you've got Andrea here, she's very involved with the audit, and somebody's myself, and we work as hard as we can to get them knocked off.
Okay, we just had our audit here a little bit ago too. I know how difficult it is for people to do that. They come in kind of lazy sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
It's not fun.
yeah, it is a lot of fun. They try to find as much as they can. But, what's been given us, from the past administration and what we have now, you guys have held it together fairly well. So and I'm very glad you're able to see if you can do something about that. At least that one, and the one, the few we have to live with, but that one you guys are not going off the list. So that's really good. I appreciate all the hard work that you guys do. Believe me, they come in looking for stuff, and that's just trying to stop them from overrunning us, I guess. So, my guess, we will move on. If we're done there, you have questions? If not, we're going to roll on to number 4, public. None, and we just move on from there. Action items. 8, fiscal year 2023 budget and public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're up.
I don't know what your process is for the first portion of it. Do you do anything different, or?
We just, I have on the agenda item that after you present this to the board, that there's time for questions and answers from the public, but we have so many in attendance tonight. Take
Yeah. So the period between the proposed and the adopted has to be a minimum of 10 days, where it gives public questions or the opportunity to ask questions regarding the proposed budget. I have not been contacted from anyone in the public requesting information to see the budget, so it would go same thing with your attendance, that there were no questions as far as the the adoption of the budget will go. Overall, there was an increase in M&O, which was explained when we proposed it last month, a decrease in capital. And ultimately what those two numbers, the biggest impact on those numbers are what you carried over from the prior year. Your M&O fiscal year 22, we're estimating a much greater carryover from this year into new year, as opposed to capital. There's very little capital, and it's just, it goes with the needs of that year.
Right.
So just there was a higher need for capital expenditures in fiscal year 22 as compared to fiscal year 21. So the adopted and proposed budget were both built with the preliminary forms. In between the two budgets, the state did put out the official forms for fiscal year 23. After speaking with Denise, we opted to keep the preliminary forms just for transparency. What we approved for proposed, then like I said, there's that time frame for the public to question. We didn't feel like it was in our best interest to change that, because essentially the public would not have been able to have access to that revision until after it was approved. Then we posted. So I didn't want to put something out there that wasn't already proposed and available. So it is still the preliminary forms. So the inflation amount, the increases in support levels has not been changed. We will do either an August or September revision depending on what the district chooses to do, but that will go to the official forms where we will see changing, and we build it with the numbers based from last year, the student count from last year. So there's no reason not to expect that we would see a greater increase for M&O, because it'll have those inflation amounts. Same thing with capital. We may not see a decrease once the official forms are applied, because it's based off of preliminary forms. So no changes at all, other than a drop-down menu that says adopted and new data is input, but none of the data from the proposed budget has changed for the adoption.
Nothing from the previous time.
Right, yeah, no changes at all.
Or something when we adopted, then it's still.
It's exactly the same, correct.
Any questions? No. If there are no questions, I'd like a motion to adopt the budget.
I move that we adopt the budget. Described.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, Mr. Dowdy has made a motion. Mr. Casey has made a second. All in favor, say aye. All against? Passes. Moving on, we are looking at action item D, 2223 notice of handbook, code of conduct employee and employee handbook.
Okay, so we have our 22-23 notice of employee code of conduct. This was composed by the governing board in 2020 as a means of communicating general expectations in alignment with policies. And then in 22-20, this is our 22-23 employee handbook that provides guidance in district policies and procedures. Neither one are all inclusive of all policies, of course, but it just highlights some of the general expectations. And both of these documents are reviewed and discussed at the beginning of the school year and signed by every employee.
Yes, I remember when we did this.
Yes.
We actually brought this up.
It
was a good idea.
When that gentleman came in, I forgot his name. He was
Yes.
impressed.
Wasn't he the former senator?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember.
Dr. Braswell.
Yes.
Dr. Braswell was a
And we got
very good guy.
Yeah.
Bringing us to this and getting us on board with that is the better ideas that have been introduced to us throughout the time. At least you, all of us right here. Around. So I am going to ask for a motion to approve the notice of 22-23 notice of employee code of conduct and employee handbook. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Casey has made a motion, and do I have a second?
Well, sir.
Mr. Courtwright has made a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. We move on to, move on to the USLOPE invoice.
So this is the, Upslope is our online rubric tool that we utilize for employee discipline when it's necessary for, it's in alignment with policy and it helps us be fair and consistent. And this is Dr. Braswell, his system, and it provides ongoing support. He provides ongoing support and training. Dr. Braswell makes himself available for us to call for any kind of questions we might have. And the annual renewal cost for the district is $599.80. I think that's a great price for when we get there, so.
Especially since he's so, we can contact him just about whenever we want to.
Yes.
He makes himself open to us at almost any time, so. Any questions? Again, we spoke to him, he's a very impressive man. Yes, he is. And if anybody has any questions, you can say so. If not, we'll move on and make a motion.
I'll motion to approve the renewal of Upslope employee discipline subscription.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Casey has made a motion, and Mr. Dowdy has made a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Motion passes. Now we move on to the 22-23 performance evaluation system.
So this is a proposal to continue the use of our strong performance evaluation system to evaluate certified and classified employees. The annual cost to the district is $15 per evaluator and in the evaluee for a total of $2,400.
And this is something that we do, we have every year. You have to have an evaluation and an evaluator. Yeah. That's just something you have to. And for this whole, for the price, it's obviously, it's good, just so, again, if there's any questions whatsoever, it's just something that we have to do every year because it's a necessary evil. And if anybody wants to make a motion to approve the 22-23 performance evaluation system.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Gates has made a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Courtwright has made a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passed. Now we move on to the 22-23 qualified evaluators.
Sure. Arizona Revised State Statute 15527 requires appointment of qualified teacher evaluators, and this resolution designates our principals and our vice principal and special education directors or administrators as our highly qualified teacher evaluators for the 22-23 school year. Mr. Ellis, Mrs. Hall, Ms. Huffman, and Mr. Larkin-Smith.
And Mr. Ellis, for all of us who know, if we do not know yet, he is the vice principal at ACES, newly appointed.
Right.
And I have not met him yet.
No.
And would like to, but I've heard nothing but glowing reports so far. But, okay, all right.
We like it.
Okay, so if you guys like him, then I will put my trust in you guys as I normally do. And for some reason or another, it always comes out to be right and good. So if there are any questions to be asked about the principals, obviously Ryan, Rick Ellis, Ryan, absolutely, guy too, and all you guys. Do I have a motion for the 2023 qualified evaluators?
I move that we approve the 2022-2023 qualified teacher evaluation.
All right, Mr. Dowry has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Case has made a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against? Motion passes. Moving on to the 2022-2023 student fundraiser and field trip list.
It's a requirement for you to approve an annual list of possible fundraisers and field trips for students. And this is the list for this next year.
A long list of fundraisers I looked at. A lot of options there.
Most
I
definitely.
haven't seen the term cakewalk.
Yeah.
Those were outliers.
And I like to see when there's a large amount of things these kids can try to attend to or fundraisers and things. I know you've been part of it, and I've been part of some of the stuff that they do.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's great to see them, because they enjoy themselves. I know they have a lot of fun. I know when I was a kid, I used to like stuff like that.
Hopefully they have more opportunity this school year.
Yes.
COVID kind of led to lots of
That's
things.
tough. Yeah, it took a fight. Those poor kids didn't get to do anything. But it looks good. I've actually looked at all of them pretty closely. Pretty exceptional. If there's any questions about anything that's on that list that you might take into consideration. But I looked at it pretty closely. It seems to be okay. If I could get a motion to approve the 2022 to 2023 student fundraiser field trip list.
I move that we approve the 2022-23 field trip approval list.
All right, Ms. Corrigan has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Mr. Dougherty. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. We removed G, so we're moving on to H, which is early kindergarten registration.
Ms. Huffman is requesting permission for a 4-year-old student to be enrolled as a kindergartner for this school year. And it's just, you have to be 5 years old before September 1st, or you have to get approval from the governing board. Whenever I bring you a student for you to approve, for you to consider approving for a school year to enter early into kindergarten, just know that before I bring it to you, the principal has made sure that the child has been evaluated and considered to be school ready.
And every time we've done this, in all honesty, I know, I'm pretty sure I'm up to date on this, but every one of those kids turned out to be very good. We approved it, the kids turned out.
Yeah,
we
we've
never
done
had
a few of
any
these.
issues.
We've always trusted their evaluation.
And they always
That's
seem,
what I do, I trust their.
yeah, and they've always seemed to come out spot on. So, anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the early enrollment of 4-year-old for kindergarten 2022-2023 school year.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Cason. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Corbett, in a second. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All against? Motion passes. Now we move on to I, Arizona City Elementary School teacher resignation.
Angela Padetis, special education teacher, resigned her position on June 30th, 2022. Mrs. Padetis was hired on November 13th, 2018. She is thankful for the opportunity to gain new experiences and growth on the Arizona City Elementary School campus.
All right. She had come to us, and our previous financial officer had made a mistake in her payments prior to, so she was not getting paid as much money as she should have at that time. And I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose, but it still comes to us because it is on us to do her right and them right. As usual, I normally say, yeah, they gotta pay the damage, but when we did them wrong first, maybe that was a precursor to why they wanna go. No one knows for sure. I can't tell you, but I cannot in all do my heart and how I feel. I put that aside. It's what is right because of the fact that I do my due diligence here and I look at the past and see what mistakes we made. And I would not wish to have her party and think we did it wrong again. So I'm hoping that all of you see where I'm coming from. If you want me to make any other statements, or you want to ask.
Thank you.
Rogers.
Yeah, I didn't know all that. Thanks for that.
And as I always do, every board member here knows, I look and I check and I make sure the past and what's going on with each one of these people. And most of the time, like I said, it hurts and it's very painful to have to make other people pay. But I check and see why they're leaving. And this one, I have to say, I personally would not want them to pay the $2,000 for the damage because of the prior issues that we had. So if anybody wishes to make a motion, or I'll make a motion, I am just going to make a motion that she not pay the liquidated damages on this, on her leaving early because of the statements that I just made earlier. And if anybody wants to make a second.
I'll second.
All right, myself, President Lingard, have made a motion, and Mr. Jason made a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. We move on to the next meeting date. That would be August 8th. Do we have any issues with August 8th?
August 8th?
8th? I don't have 8th.
I'm gonna assume we don't.
You're gonna assume? Okay.
I'm good.
Minutes for record. Okay, so it looks as though, and if there's any other peeps, or people, I mean, around here that have any other issues, it looks as though August 8th is going to be it. All right, I see nothing everywhere, so we'll go with that. And last thing on, do we have to do here is an adjournment? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, I think I heard a couple people. I heard Casey first. So Mr. Casey made a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Dowdy made a second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
All against? Meeting adjourned.